What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. And you probably know that Gmail can become very overwhelming very quickly. Fortunately, with OpenAI and AI assistants, we can automate many of the tasks in our Gmail inboxes. Therefore, in today's video, I will show you how with n8n and OpenAI assistants, you can organize your email inbox and even draft responses to the incoming inquiries. So without further ado, let's jump into my computer screen. The first thing that I want to show you is an example of how you can label your Gmail inbox automatically. And for example, in this case, I have 4 labels. I have inquiry, notification, partnership, and urgent. If there is a need, there's always a possibility to create more labels. In my case, I have only 4. And whenever an email comes in, it labels it accordingly, so I would know how important certain email is, or if it's unimportant at all. And to do that, first of all, we're gonna have this flow. So this portion of the flow, what it's gonna do is basically it's gonna label the emails, so you know the importance of the email, and then the last part of the flow is gonna be able to draft responses based on different conditions. So without further ado, let's see how you can implement the same approach. So for the first node that I used in n8n was a Gmail trigger. So let's click on this and let's, okay, I have pinned a test event. So in this case, it was like, hello, your order is ready. So this was this particular email that was labeled as notification. So for the further example, we're gonna use this one. But what I did, I connected my Gmail account in n8n. I added polling times every minute and when a message received. And also I'm filtering only unread emails. That way, if I already saw the email, I maybe don't need it to be labeled. But if I do, then I would update this filter. And then comes OpenAI, which is going to be responsible for labeling the emails. And the whole magic comes when you have to come up with the prompt. And in this case, the prompt is actually quite large, so we can go through it very quickly. At the beginning, I say you are a world-class email categorization assistant with extensive expertise in analyzing email content and assigning it to the most relevant labels. Given an email text, please review its content and assign one or more relevant labels based on the following specific categories. And below, I add different categories. So the first is inquiry, then partnership, then notification, and urgent. Then I give the instructions. An email may receive more than one label if applicable. For emails with multiple labels, carefully consider each category to ensure accurate and non-conflicting labeling. Then I give the output formatting. So in this case, I say give me labels and then give me an array of labels, even if it's one, and the reasoning why you decided to choose a specific label. And at the beginning, I mentioned avoid assumptions or adding details not present in the email text. Focus on clarity and specificity in your explanations for each label. So as you can see, the prompt is actually quite large for such simple task, but I made it sure that it would be 99.9% of the time accurate and wouldn't experience any issues. When it comes to the node itself, I set up to message a model. In this case, I selected GPT-4o, which is the most, the newest model, one of the newest models. In the role, I added system because we're giving the system instructions. And here in the text, I added the snippet from the Gmail trigger, which is basically the text or the body of the email itself. So that's the first row. And the second row, this prompt is the system prompt, and then another role is user, where I'm adding the snippet of text. I marked it to output content as JSON, and simplify the output. So when you test this step, so we can test it again with the data that we have already from the trigger, and it's gonna give a label notification, and it's gonna give the reasoning. So the email informs the recipient that their order is ready for pickup, provides instructions on what to bring. Great. So we already have the label, which we can add on top of the Gmail messages or emails, and we can move further along with this automation. Then the next step in this automation is to extract the labels array. For this, I'm using this particular node to extract the labels, and mode is going to be manual mapping, and the name that I'm going to assign is going to be labels. For example, as you can see, I named it labels in the output of the OpenAI, and I'm going to choose it array and adding it this particular piece of JSON. And in the output, it will provide array like this. In this case, it was only one notification, only one label, therefore there's only one item in the array. So let's go test the step, and we can see that labels extracted were notifications. So again, what we had to add was from the message, take the content and take the labels. So I just can show you very quickly, add it here, like so, test the step, it provides the same output. Great. Moving further, then what we have to do is, if there's more than one label, we have to split it into separate items. So this is going to be this particular node. So the fields to split out, again, select write in labels and don't include other fields. And it's what I'm going to do is going to split out all of the labels that were in the previously extracted array. So we test the step. Again, we get labels, notification, and if there would be, for example, more than one label, there would be two or more rows. Then another node that we added was get labels node in the Gmail. And for this, what I had to pick was a resource label and operation get many and return all. So let's test the step. And you can see that in this case, I'm receiving all of the possible labels from my Gmail account. If we go to the second window over here, you will notice that I get the label ID and the label name, for example, notification, label ID, label name inquiry, and so on. So this step works. All we had to do is, again, set the node as get all labels, resource label, and get many. And essentially what we did right now, what we were able to do is get all of the labels that are in our Gmail account, and also extract all of the labels separately from the previous array, or actually from the result that OpenAI gave us. Then moving further, we have the step where we're going to be able to match the labels that OpenAI returned and the labels that we have in our Gmail account. So for this, I'm using the merge node. And in the mode, I select combine out of all of these, combine by a matching field, and there are two options or two inputs that I need to select. So for input number one, which was the split out, I'm selecting labels. And for input number two, I'm selecting the name. So in this case, the label name. And in the output type, I'm keeping the matches and I'm outputting the data from input number two. So I'm outputting data from Gmail get labels node. And I'm doing that because this is going to provide me also the ID of a label. So let's test the step. And as you can see, what I'm getting is I'm getting the ID of a label and I'm getting the name of the label, which is notification. And in this case, it is a matching label. So that means that notification label was actually in this previous array that we received from OpenAI, and it was also in the list of our labels in the Gmail account. Now, essentially this step, so the aggregate node, is gonna aggregate all of the IDs that came out of merge matching labels output. And again, this is necessary in a case if there is more than one label in the output. Or for example, if OpenAI decided that a particular, let's say, email is an inquiry and also urgent. Therefore, we have to aggregate those two labels into one array, or particularly these IDs into an array. So to aggregate, we select individual fields. Input field name is ID, and we're renaming the field. In this case, I'm naming it as label IDs. So let's test the step. And again, since we had only one item, we are returned with just one row of data. And then moving forward, which is going to be the last step of actually labeling your Gmail emails, is going to be the module, the node for add labels. And if you click on it, the resource, I selected message. For the operation, I selected add label. For the message ID, I selected the ID from the initial Gmail trigger, which is this particular ID. And for the label names, I selected the label IDs, which we received from the aggregate node in the previous step. So as you can see, in this case, it provided us with an array of one item. If there would have been more than one label, then we would see, more label IDs. And if we test the step, we can see that our label, so this label ID, was applied to the that particular email that we received, which is great. That's what we want. Basically, this already can replace a virtual assistant that lets you know when an urgent email comes in, or if you receive like 20-30 emails a day. It can let you know which ones are to pay attention to and which ones are not. So great, this works exactly as we want. But the next step is filtering specific email labels that we want to draft a response to. And in this case, I set up a filter node where I selected the IDs from aggregate node, which would be this one. And I'm checking it if it contains this specific label. But what is this specific label? So let's get back to get all labels node, go to the second screen, and this specific label is inquiry. So that means I only want to draft responses if it's inquiry. So to do that, let's run another test. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save it like so. It's already turned on. And we're going to go back to my email and we're going to send a test email. So the subject is going to be I would like to return my slippers. Yes, because in this case, I'm going to show you how this would handle emails for a slipper e-commerce business as an example. So, hey, I bought slippers on Friday. However, they don't fit me. How do I return them? We're gonna send the email, then we're gonna go back. We're gonna unpin the data over here, get back, save, and maybe it's gonna run by itself. Yes, it already ran. And if you would look closely, you would see that it already drafted a response. So let's click on the email and we can already see that in the email it mentioned, "Hi there, I'm sorry to hear that the slippers don't fit. Here's how you can return them." And it gives a step-by-step outline of how your customer for this particular e-commerce business can return the slippers. Of course, as you can probably see, it added some details, additional details that we probably don't want, that we can, for example, delete, and then just hit send. And that way, all we had to do is basically give the AI the opportunity to go through our documents, see what is our return policy, draft the response. And all we need to do is look over the email and send the response without the need to actually type it out everything by ourselves. So again, then how this actually works. And so you remember we talked about the filter. So we can again zoom in and click on the filter. So it has the label, and in this case it passed through the filter, which checks if the label is inquiry. If it is, then it passes all of the data to an OpenAI assistant, and here we have a node that is to message an assistant. And for that we can go into OpenAI dashboard. I'm gonna show you how you can very quickly create an assistant. So go into the assistants and let me zoom in. And you can see I have an e-commerce customer support assistant. Over here we have the prompt. So again, you can read through it by yourself. But basically, again, it says you are an AI assistant for e-commerce store specializing in slippers. Your role is to respond to customer inquiries using FAQ document as your primary reference. So to do that, all you need to do is click create, add the name, add the prompt, select the model, and add the file search. And this step is quite important because in here, what I did, I clicked on add files, click to upload, and I uploaded this particular file with frequently asked questions of this particular slipper store. So it's a knowledge base that allows OpenAI to draft responses to the emails that you receive. And in this case, all it says is, for example, there's like a category of questions, and for example, how do I place an order? And there's an answer. What payments methods do you accept? And there's an answer. So you can keep updating this file more and more when the time, with the time. And that way, OpenAI will be able to answer to more and more questions. So there's all that there is to this. All you have to do, write the name, write the instructions, select the model, upload the file. In this case, I actually reduced the temperature to 0.5. I want the assistant to be more direct and more to the point without any extra words. If it's unnecessary, then don't add any words. If I would add it to 0, maybe it would be even less, would write even less words than it did in my example. So let's go back and let's check how it's set up in n8n. So if I click on this node, I can see it gives me the output that we already saw. So there are backticks and some information that we didn't need, but again, you can optimize this with time and keep updating your prompt to make it better. But to set up this node, what I selected OpenAI account. The resource was assistant, operation, message, and assistant. Assistants, so from the list, it just gives me a drop down. I have only one assistant, that's which one I selected. Prompt, so all I did for the prompt, I chose define below. And for the text, all I did was added the snippet from the initial email trigger, which is this one. And for memory, I didn't use anything, I left it as it is. And again, we have the data in here, so we can move to the last node, which is creating the draft in the Gmail. So if I click on the node, you can see I select my credentials, the resource for this particular node. So the node is create draft, and the resource is draft operation create. And in the subject, I added RE : space, and then subject again from the initial Gmail trigger. Then for email type, I specified it to be HTML because in the OpenAI assistant, what I'm doing over here is I'm specifically asking OpenAI to return me an HTML format. So when the response comes into Gmail, it would be formatted nicely and there would be line breaks between different lines. So yes, inside the message, all I do is I add the output from the last node, which is OpenAI. And then for options, it's very important to add, first of all, the thread ID, because this means we're responding to the person that actually sent us the email and that we are creating a draft in the same thread. So again, for this, we'll go to the initial Gmail trigger and we select thread ID, which in this case is the second option. And to email, again, from the initial Gmail trigger, it's at the bottom, we select the to option. And that's basically it to managing your Gmail with AI and without lifting a finger yourself, or maybe even, outsourcing this to AI instead of using your virtual assistant. And again, you can build additional stuff on top of this flow. For example, if let's say it's urgent, it could send you a text message to your phone, or could potentially send you a Slack message, whatever you prefer, or it could notify a certain person in your team. So there are a lot of opportunities when it comes to managing your Gmail, and it's actually quite exciting realizing how much more opportunities there are right now with AI and automation tools such as n8n or make.com or Zapier. So that being said, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit a subscribe, hit a like, and if you ever want to work together, there's a link down below in the description below, a form through which you can reach out to me. If you have any questions about automation or AI, let me know and I would be happy to talk to you more. So thanks for watching and see you in the next one.